This is the second part of a video about how to work together with people you do not get along with when it's really important to get the job done. Now, we just got done talking about when this is a emergency project to help one person in the group, and this group, these people, they try to avoid each other. They do not get along. That that person that is the one that needs to help, the plan they come up with might be one to extricate everybody, that they will not have to help that person anymore. But you might not like the plan that they come up with enough even to want to hear it a second time. So you have an option, an alternative view that you want them to follow instead. And the other person, I tell you, is the one who's like, don't bother me. Don't listen to them, because they just heads in the sand. They're trying to pretend that nothing's going to go wrong, and it's not going to get worse if you just abandon the person who needs to help, as if they're just going to be able to compensate when it's a very serious deprivation that they have just incurred. No, they're just, if you think they're too needy now, that's just going to escalate a lot, and nipping it in the bud would be the one thing that would save you that trouble. But it's like, I don't want to think about it. 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 No, you got to think about it. Thinking is a lot less difficult than climbing a lot of stairs or whatever else you would have had to do. Oh, but this is the thing new in this video, is that there might be two people in the group that refuse to talk to each other at all, or one person that two other people refuse to talk to at all. Now, I don't have a true concrete solution to that subproblem yet, but I do have to emphasize that this is a counterproductive situation to think that you have to let that be. Because sometimes when everything between the ping pong between one or two people on one side that don't want to talk to one person on the other side has to go through the one that everybody's trying to rescue, that is very inefficient. It can lead to a breakdown. This person has to be the two-way relay. The amount of time that adds to any conversation, no matter who's on which end. Side A has to talk to the relay for 10 minutes, hang up. Then the relay calls side B and talks to them for 10 minutes. Automatically, that doubles the amount of time. If the two parties were talking to each other from the beginning, it probably wouldn't take the whole 10 minutes, because each side would be able to eliminate whatever redundant questions the other one was already asking. Whereas if you're telling them through the relay, you have to spell out foresee every contingency where a question needed to be asked, and make sure that you'd ask that question. And also to spell it out so that it's perfectly clear that this relay person knows exactly what to relay. You have to talk slow, make sure they get everything, make sure that you can trust that they're going to remember everything that you're going to tell, or that they're transcribing it or something. Or maybe a video recording it. And the same thing on the other side. That you have to ask these questions, and they have to be a little bit more patient, because you're explaining it secondhand, and they don't want to confuse you or make you forget stuff. So they're gonna have to want to listen to more of what you're saying, even when it's redundant. And then they're going to tell you more stuff that's redundant. And then there's stuff that you're going to have to struggle to remember, or you're going to have to struggle to find where you recorded it. It's always best to have the two parties who want to communicate with each other do it directly, not through a relay. And The very fact that they are resorting to using a relay frankly reinforces and further legitimates the fact that they want to reify or officialize this barrier of communication between each other that over dignifies it to the point where it becomes like an institution that is never ever going to be challenged, and they're going to walk away from it. Hey, that worked well enough that we were depending on a relay. Let's keep doing that. But what you're not seeing is the control, which is what would have been different if you would have done it the other way. And it could have been that when you did it the other way, you would have spotted something that didn't come through when you were depending on the relay doing it the inefficient method. And you might not find out what went wrong based on what you did not discover by doing it the hard way, that you'll never know would have been corrected if you would have been doing it the easier way. And you're taking chances with the outcome if you encumber it by forcing it to be done in an inefficient, an unnecessarily inefficient manner. There's so many things like that. Oh, I didn't know he was going to make you do that. I thought you knew about that already. That's why I didn't bother to tell you. Plus, I didn't think it would have mattered to you anyway. Yeah, I hate that he made me do that. And sometimes the people that impose these penurious or perverse conditions are people that you would think would be much more wise to know not to do anything like that. These are the people that are always telling you that you're stupid and that they have no patience with how much time it takes you to figure out what they're really talking about. But when it comes to I'm not saying common sense in general, I'm saying common sense as it applies to things that they have weird strictures about, like talking to certain other people when it's very important. They use any excuse they can throw just to avoid that, even at the cost of screwing up a crisis project. So this is the ultimate, within this case, example of people just really risking a ruinous outcome simply because they don't want to work sufficiently together, sufficiently closely with someone on the argument that they just didn't get along with them. I'm just trying to tell you before that every day that goes by where you're not working in complete dovetail tandem with every other person in this group is going to be a backstep of 2 more days. At least. It will multiply exponentially at every juncture that applies. Every person who isn't copied on the progress of the project is going to take the project backward 1, maybe 2 more days for every day that it's going along. You really have to tell people what you did, what you attempted, and how it turned out, and ways in which the outcome you got fell short of what was expected, and then determine what was done wrong that resulted in the inferior outcome or the undesired outcome, because it's usually got to be done again, and you got to know what you've got to change, and these other people have got to be kept copied on what how their expectations of the outcome were disappointed by the way it was executed. Everybody's got to be on the same page and reading and keeping going. Anybody who wants to drag their feet is going to trip up the rest of the team. And excuse making has to be stopped. Now, how to reach somebody who's really recalcitrant, who just really insists on just not getting it, is something that I still got to work on for this video series, because so far I've still got one team member who just has dug in his heels, and anytime you talk to him, he acts deliberately dumb, deliberately obtuse, just so you will become disenchanted with, quote unquote, bothering him again. Now, if you were to approach him about what bothers you about this, he would make more excuses just to answer that question for you, because he's got another stricture about communicating with people, period. This person's been obstructionary at multiple stages of this project, and he was he was resistant today, not giving me any response. It's just excuses and lying. And this is like, I don't know how he thinks that is going to help him. He's one of the reasons that this project had to be undertaken in the first place. And he can't remember how the last thing that resembled this crisis made him do double duty. And like, I remember one time making a joke about something that was not directly related to his contribution. He paranoidly concluded that I had to have been complaining about him. Frankly, I really could have, because his underperformance was really hurting me. But knowing that he was doing this, I knew that complaining would only result in further abuse. So I knew better, but this was just an innocuous or innocent joke. And he found reason to take it the wrong way, which showed that he pretty much already knew that he was inflicting suffering on me by his underperformance. So I think that it's a secret grudge. So sometimes when people are not working together, it's spiteful. It's not just wishful thinking, procrastination, distaste for the interaction, or distaste for the project itself. Sometimes they are saboteurs. And how to, when you got a saboteur, the only measure would have been confrontation. You are trying to hurt things here, and you've got to stop. And when the saboteur happens to be one of these extreme passive aggressives, the hardest thing to do to a person like that is to achieve any kind of a confrontation, because they're going to dodge, and all kinds of somersaults and slips and slides. And Charlie, what's that guy who was in the action movies? I think it was Charlie Chan, wasn't it? I know, I have a mental block on this fellow who's a stuntman who did a lot of slippery, evasive maneuvers, as well as positive things like jumps. Jackie Chan, right. And when you got an extreme passive aggressive, they'll find all kinds of loopholes and excuses and straw man arguments and outright lies, and I can't talk anymore, I have to leave. Into that kind of shit. So this has been my 2 video series on working together. It's over. Thank you. Bye.